Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we are going we are going to talk about the recent trade between the Knicks and the Raptors, centered around OG Anunoby. I know this trade did go down a couple of days ago, but I had been sort of taking a break for Christmas and the New Year, so I decided to put off making anything until right about now. So we are going to talk about this trade just real quick. I tried this once already and I rambled too much, so we're going to try and cut it down a little bit. But the Knicks and the Raptors recently completed a trade. We'll put up what each side got on the screen right now. The New York Knicks ended up getting OG Anunoby, Malachi Flynn, and Precious Achua from Toronto. Meanwhile, the Raptors got RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and a 2024 second round pick via the Detroit Pistons. So, let's take a look at what this sort of meant for both sides. We'll start with Toronto. First and foremost, they get that second round pick in 2024. That is the upcoming draft this year from Detroit. And because Detroit is so unbelievably bad, this second rounder will likely be in the low 30s, really right at the start of the second round. So that's not bad. In terms of a second round pick, that's about as high value a one as you can get. Secondly, they get RJ Barrett here, right? And as a nice little sort of aside, they get Barrett back in Canada. Barrett is a Canadian-born player, or at least Canadian citizen. He played for the national team in the FIBA World Cup, so kind of nice to have him back on home soil for the Canadian fans. In terms of his actual performance, that's not bad either. Prior to the trade, he was averaging 18.2 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists on just over 42% from the field and just over 33% from beyond the arc. So those are not bad stats, but it was very clear in New York he was playing as the third option behind Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. The Knicks sort of wanted him to be a true sort of third part of the trio. He wanted Brunson, Randle, and Barrett. They wanted Brunson, Randle, and Barrett to maybe be a little bit more level with each other, and Barrett's level of play didn't quite rise to where the Knicks wanted it to be, so they ship him out. Might get a chance to be a bigger part of the offense for Toronto, although it is a slightly similar situation with the Raptors having Siakam and Barnes, both kind of in prominent roles, but we'll see. For the other part of this trade for Emmanuel Quickley, he's no slouch either. He is a pretty solid asset here in terms of his offensive firepower. He is maybe a more offensively oriented guard as opposed to being a true point guard, but the Raptors kind of already have that guy in the form of Dennis Schroeder, so maybe Quickley plays a little bit more off ball and can be more offensively oriented. And you take a look at what the point guard situation looks like now for the Raptors. They've got Quickley, they've got Schroeder, they've got the rookie Grady Dick, who is getting his moments here and there to pick up some experience. So the Raptors look pretty solid at point guard here. The biggest thing for Toronto in terms of making this trade was the fact that the guys they get are guys who can score, guys who have a bit of an offensive mindset, because the Raptors were struggling on that front. They were 21st in the league in terms of points per game prior to this trade, and 18th in the league in terms of offensive rating. So, picking up a pair of guys like Barrett and Quickley, who we know are capable of scoring, might take some of the load off of guys like Pascal Siakam, guys like Scotty Barnes, who have been playing well but have not had enough to carry the Raptors to a significant number of wins to this point in the season. So bolstering the offense is maybe the hope in picking up guys like Barrett and Quickley. So the question for Toronto is, does this really move the needle in terms of what Siakam's future with the team looks like? I can't really answer that question. They have more firepower. They have more offensive weapons now than they did before, picking up Barrett and Quickley as opposed to having just sort of Anunoby, and guys like Malachi Flynn and Precious Achua never really were major factors in the offense anyway. But we'll have to see what the performance looks like. If these new players help and the Raptors go on a run, if they get over 500, if they make a push to the playoffs, who knows? Maybe Siakam decides he wants to stay, maybe they re-up and build something better than what we've seen in the post-Kawhi Leonard era, but it's relatively low risk for the Raptors because you were already in a situation here where Siakam could leave and you'd have to rebuild this whole thing anyway, so you did not add more risk to the scenario because you were already unsure of what the future was going to look like. So low risk, potentially high reward for the Raptors. It's a similar mindset for the Knicks as well. Low risk with a potentially higher payout. The team loses their third and fourth leading scorers, taking Barrett and quickly away, which obviously isn't ideal, but the Knicks needed to improve on the defensive end. They needed to improve down low with their sort of stable of big men, and hopefully they will do that with this trade. All right, looking at OG Anunoby specifically, he is a slightly taller, slightly bigger, definitely better defender in terms of the raw numbers and reputation compared to RJ Barrett, but he's still averaging a decent amount of points as well. 15.1 per game to go along with 3.9 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and a 48.9% field goal percentage. So is Anunoby as good a scorer as RJ Barrett? Probably not, but as I was outlining in the previous section, the Knicks have maybe sort of acknowledged that that's not the way this is going to work. They wanted Barrett to be a part of this sort of triple offense with himself, Brunson, and Randall, but the way that the team plays, I don't know if there's enough there to support a third 20-point scorer per game. If Brunson and Randall are going to carry the load offensively, then you need guys who can take their shots when they have them, but more importantly, sort of lock down defensively. Anunoby has a reputation of kind of being that guy, and he's going to need fewer sort of designed plays for himself on the offensive end. Right? 15 points per game is obviously not going to blow anyone away, but if that means that Brunson and Randall get more of the offense centered around them, it can still work out for the Knicks. Although, in fairness, in the first game Anunoby played, they did sort of shift that up a little bit. Anunoby got a lot of looks, but it was his first game with the team. Who knows if that's the way they're going to play long term. But they get Anunoby. He's able to defend sort of on the wing. He can help out down low as well, and down low is where the other part of the trade comes in here, right? Precious Achiuwa coming over from Toronto. Not really much of an offensive threat at all. His scoring numbers aren't really worth talking about, but he's a high energy guy. He knows his role. He was grabbing 5.4 rebounds per game prior to the trade. He's a guy that you can just maybe plug in. You don't really run any plays for him. He grabs boards. He plays defense. He'll guard down low, which is a place the Knicks were kind of thin after some injuries. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson was the big one. He's out for the season, unfortunately. And Jericho Sims is missing some time with an ankle injury, and who knows what his spot in the rotation was going to look like. So the Knicks needed help on the interior. They really didn't want to force Julius Randle into changing things up too much because offensively he was looking pretty good after starting the season in rough fashion. So Randle is often more focused on the offensive end than the defensive one, even though he is a capable defender when he wants to be. But you don't want to force him into that position, right? Randle can focus on the defensive end. You can get guys like Anunoby and Achiuwa to maybe handle more of the defensive end of the ball. So they get some help down low where they needed it. That does leave Malachi Flynn as the odd man out in this trade, unfortunately. He was already in a bit of a smaller role in Toronto, playing about 15 minutes per game. He went from being the backup for Fred VanVleet to being the backup now for Dennis Schroeder, and his role is relatively small, and he did not play in that first game the Knicks played against the Timberwolves, so we didn't really even get to see him in action. Best case scenario for Flynn here is that he just slots into that backup point guard role that Emmanuel Quickley has just vacated, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that looks, because the Knicks do have other guards that they could work with, guys like, Quentin Grimes, Arcidiacono, Dante DiVincenzo. I'm not sure, whatever. They've got other guards on the lineup. I think I may have made a mistake there, but will Malachi Flynn get that role, or will it go to someone else? Hard to tell. No offense to Flynn, but I don't really think the Knicks care. If they use him, fine. If they don't, I think he's in the final year of his contract anyway. So it's unfortunate for Flynn, but that's kind of the way it works. But overall, both teams took, as I said, relatively sort of low risk, high reward plays. The Raptors wanted more firepower. They got it. The future of their team in Siakam is still just as unknown as it was before, so they didn't really add any extra risk on there. Meanwhile, the Knicks wanted more size and defensive strength. They got that as well. So both teams get what they want. The Knicks do come out maybe slightly ahead in terms of the financial flexibility. They move Barrett's multi-year contract. They get out of extension talks with Emmanuel Quickly, who, according to rumors, was looking for a pretty sizable payday. So you move those guys off of your roster. Anunoby comes back. He's signed for, I think, 1 year beyond this one, but Achua and Flynn are both in the final year of their contract. So, you know, the Knicks could just let them walk and they'd have a little bit more cap space to work with. In terms of the performance on the court, though, I'm not 100% sure who comes out better in this trade relative to where they were before. It'll depend on the performance of the players and the teams, and will very likely depend on what that ultimate decision down the line is for Toronto with Pascal Siakam, and whether he stays or goes and the team has to, you know, rebuild or blow it up or whatever. But for now, it seems like both sides got what they wanted. Both sides put relatively little up at stakes here, just parting ways with players they were ready to part ways with. And no major picks end up being forfeited. Both teams go out and win their first games with their new players, so it all looks good for right now. But I don't know. Let me know if you feel a different way here. Do you think one team or the other gave up maybe a little bit too much? Do you think the Knicks shouldn't have given up on someone like Barrett? Do you think that the Raptors should have tried to hold Anunoby for some sort of bigger superstar package, right? Him, Barnes, Siakam, Hicks, whatever, for some sort of all-star level player. I'm not really sure what that would look like, but I know that's something that some people were sort of floating around or holding in their minds. But let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. Happy New Year. And I will talk to you later.